Hello everybody and welcome back to another Maya tutorial. Today I will be showing you the extrusion tool along with some basic face manipulations. Um, the extrusion tool is really it's one of the bread and butter tools of Maya. It's very important. It's used all the time. You can almost make anything out of a cube just by extruding if you're clever enough with it. Okay, so first off, I'm just going to draw a basic cube. I'm holding shift to keep it scaled correctly, and I'm going to change it to shaded mode by hitting 5. So as you can see here, I just have a basic cube. Nothing special about it. And the best way to do extrusions is by face. You can select the whole object and come up here to your extrude tool, and you can click it, and then it will by default do all the faces. So it's a little interesting how it does that. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to go into face mode, so I'm just holding right down right click and then holding it and putting my cursor over face, and that'll put me in face mode. So I can select the different faces. So I'll just select this top face here and I'll just start by extruding it. So it comes up with this little combo manipulator. This is different from this is kind of, it's the same kind of manipulator that you have with the WERT keys, WER I should say, but it's all combined into one. So say right now it's on move by default. If I want to change to scale, then I'll just click one of the scale squares and I can then scale it. Rotate, I just select this blue circle here, and then I have access to the rotate manipulator. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull it up. And as you can see, it's taken the face and it's drawn more edges in, so this face now is a duplicate of the face below it, and it's totally independent of it. So I can move it over here. And if you notice, if I zoom in here to inside the shape, maybe, the previous face that was there is gone. So it actually doesn't change the face, it just changes the edges around the face and has it come out, allows it to come out. So, so I moved it over, I'll scale it a little bit, so I'll click on the square, and then I'm going to click on the blue square in the middle. And this will scale it while keeping its proportions. Let's rotate it a little bit. So I'm selecting the blue circle, and then I'll just rotate it down. J shortcut also works for the combo manipulator. If I hold J before clicking, as you can see over here, it changes these discrete move, rotate, and scales. So I want to do by 15-degree increments. If I need something exact, I can do that. It's a very useful tool. One thing you have to watch out for, oh, I should say before that, you can change the divisions here of how many divisions you want in these sides that it made. So say I want 5 divisions, hit enter, there's my 5 divisions. They're not in 4 edge loops, they're perfectly spaced apart from each other. Similar to changing the attributes on an object. If you change in the channel box how many subdivisions it has, this is similar to that, but for just one extruder at a time. So I'll change that back to 1. One thing you have to watch out for, that if you hit W, for instance, it'll give you the move manipulator, which you can still move the face, although technically you're not in a combo manipulator anymore. You can't adjust the divisions anymore through the combo manipulator. So if you really had to do something else with the combo manipulator that you missed, I usually undo until I've undone the extrusion. And I'll say undo poly extrude down here, and then just redo it, and then make sure I don't use the WERT keys. So that's a brief look at the extrusion tool. There's a couple properties that go along with that. So if I extrude it again, let's come up here, my extrude tool, and hit extrude, pull this up, scale it. As you can see, it made this poly extrude face input, and it has all these attributes, which you can change. The one you'll probably use the most is this divisions. So you can change the divisions after the fact. You just have to make sure that you haven't modified the vertices after the fact, or it will screw it up. So you want to do this fairly soon after you've made the extrusion. Okay, so now I have one extrusion. Go back to my face mode. Hit extrude again. And then say I want to look like there's a post coming out of this block that I made. I could extrude a second time and pull straight up. These are still quads, so you're not messing up the geometry by doing this, but it gives you a nice level surface just by scaling in and then re-extruding by scaling up. Okay. Something else to keep in mind, if I add subdivisions to this cube, let's say, actually cube's a bad example. I'll use a sphere. I pull a sphere out. Has lots of faces, so if I go to face mode and I select them all, and then I go up to edit mesh and turn off keep faces together, and then I extrude. When I pull out, as you can see, it's separating the faces. This is not typical behavior, and this is usually not what you want, although in some instances is extremely useful. For instance, if you wanted to make a disco ball or something that looked like it had little squares glued to it, squares of mirror, you could do something like this, and you could apply a shader, a mirror shader to the squares, or something like that. It's useful for doing surface detail, but it should be used with caution because, and always when you're done doing the extrude that you need it for, always turn it back on, because you'll forget, you'll extrude out, you won't realize that they're separate faces, then you'll have sides and edges that have a width of 0, and then when Maya tries to divide them, it'll crash because it's trying to divide by 0. It's a big mess. It'll cause a lot of issues in your file later. So if you do it deliberately and be sure to turn it back off. I think that pretty much covers all of the main parts of the extrude tool. It works on a face basis, so you just want to select the faces you want, pull out. Oh, that's another thing I was going to show. If you see, when I pull it out, it kind of goes out where it displays out because I'm pulling it relative to the face and it's on a curved surface. If I extrude that again, hit this little power button sign, it'll go into the middle, it'll be world positioning, and then when I pull it out, it keeps those lines nice and straight, parallel to each other. So it depends on the case basis you're working on. It can do funny things to you if you're extruding out around an object like this. And I do this, it does this really odd, it doesn't keep these faces straight. It does some weird scaling on some places. So if I'm doing something less complicated than a single plane worth, if I'm doing around an object or something, I usually use this one because it'll act more consistent to what I'm expecting. So that's the extrude tool. I hope this helped, and I will see you guys in my next video.